Buenos días, mi nombre es Moisés, tengo la edad de 11 años, yo nací en Matagalpa, he nacido en la cárcel. Mi mamá es Yesenia del Pilar, mi papá es Pedro Romero, mis hermanos son Jordania, Jordan, Karen, Catherine, Anderson Emmanuel, Daniel y yo. Me gusta en el tiempo que estoy libre, me gusta jugar, divertirme, y me gusta porterear y ser alguien en la vida, en el futuro. Después que la droga daña a muchas personas, a la familia la destruye, es algo malo sobre las personas porque daña nuestra salud.
¿Qué ha sido lo más difícil de vivir separado de tu mamá?
Cuando pues yo iba a verla, ella me aconseja, me dice que no deje las clases, que siga adelante para ser alguien en la vida.
Si tuvieras que describir a don Pedro, ¿cómo lo describirías?
Que un buen padre, que no nos ha dicho que no y que nunca nos ha abandonado.
¿Qué es el Ministerio Luz Vital para vos?
Es algo donde podemos aprender sobre la Biblia y recibimos devocionales muy bonitos para seguir adelante. Me ayuda en muchas cosas porque he aprendido un poco de la Biblia. No he aprendido mucho, pero he aprendido más o menos y me gusta porque recibimos clases bíblicas, recibimos inglés, devocionales, deporte, arte, valores vitales, muchas cosas.
Mi nombre es Pedro José Romero, papá de Moisés. Moisés es hijo mío de crianza. Me lo dejaron chiquito, me lo dejaron pequeño a él. Y yo lo he metido al ministerio para que haga un buen camino. Bueno, él dice que quiere ser un buen estudiante y nosotros lo hemos apoyado. Pues.
¿Cómo se siente en el ministerio?
Se siente bien.
¿Qué le ha expresado?
A Ley le gusta el ministerio y a mí me gusta que esté ahí también. Bueno, él nació en el sistema. Y el sistema lo trajeron para acá. Lo agarró la tía y ya grandecito, como ellos fracasaron, entonces me lo trajeron a mí, como mis hijas son hermanas de él, aquí lo han corregido y aquí ha estado con nosotros. El poco que ganamos es para todos. Ella tiene 11 años que la retiraron de su familia. Tiene 11 años y está por salirse. Nosotros le pedimos a Dios que salga.
¿Por qué fue que
Bueno, cayó detenida por droga.
So what does Lesson do and why should people support you in it?
Lesson does exactly what the Bible tells believers to do, which is go into the nations, preach the good news, and make disciples of people. People who choose to come alongside of our work have an incredible opportunity to reach straight to the root cause of so many of today's hard to answer questions and problems, and just help us chop them off right from the ground up. The boys that we work with, the women that we work with, we empower them to make their own futures as bright as they can possibly be. We empower them to cut their own cycles of destruction, their own cycles of poverty, their own cycles of abuse, and to be the best that they can be.
Can you explain briefly like what programs you offer and what that looks like on a daily basis?
We're open Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And during the week, we offer boys formation classes in the morning and in the afternoons. For them, we have a hot lunch program, as well as breakfast for the boys who attend classes. We offer them vocational training. There's computer classes, there's English classes. Aside from that, we have women's vocational training where we teach women how to sew. They receive business sense classes so that if they do get to the point where they learn to sew well enough to make their own clothes, they have some kind of business sense about them to make that work for them. Mercy-based ministry as well, where we help the poor, we help the forgotten people in society with things like food, with things like clothing and medicine, and we even do small building projects sometimes as well.
Yeah. So what are the ways that LASM is intervening in the major issues that are affecting Nicaragua today?
You know, we have been at this for 8 years, going into our 8th year, and I just recently had the biggest realization of the impact that we are actually making on these kind of world issues, not just in Nicaragua, but these world issues that people see and don't necessarily know what to do about. And I want to bring you back to Honduras just to answer this question. When I lived there, I learned that there were families, mothers and fathers, who were selling their very own daughters, 11, 12, 13 years old, to the fishing boats that would come into the harbor. And I just remember how that haunted me. I didn't know what to do about it. And even to this day, I have that in my mind, and I'm like, how do we actually stop that? How do we make a difference in that? And I felt as though I was doing nothing. And just within this last month, God just spoke to me so clearly one day, and he said, you are doing something about that. You know, even here in Ciudad Darío, there are young girls who sell their bodies, you know, to truckers who are going by on the highways. You know, when our boys leave our program after 5 years of being discipled there, they are not going to be men who will say yes to those kinds of situations. They will know that that is not okay. They will know right from wrong. They are not going, even if there's an opportunity presented to them, they will be a future of men that have been raised up to say no. They will not take advantage of young girls who are selling their bodies, you know, along the highways. They will say no because we are teaching them and discipling them. The thing that I was remembering when I was kind of reminiscing on my time in Honduras and the work that I did there, was the work that I did with orphans. And I was thinking too, I had it in my mind that we, in our work here in Nicaragua, are not doing anything to kind of combat the orphan crisis in the world today. You know, when I was in Honduras, I had my hands on little orphans every day, and I was working with them, and I was hugging them, and I just thought, what am I doing? Because it's such a big part of my heart. And that same day, God said, you are doing something about the orphan crisis, and he just began to speak to me about the fact that not all orphans in the world are true orphans. You know, that their mothers and their fathers have been killed or are dead. We have kids who are orphans because their mother and their father have chosen to abandon them. That we are teaching our boys what it is to have a family, what it is to care for your children, and that will, in the end, I believe, combat the orphan crisis in the world today when men are raised up to properly care for the families. That, you know, it makes a huge difference to actually teach a child about the family unit. And it creates long-lasting effects. In Nicaragua, there's such a problem with families being created but they're not being taken care of. And in our center, we are teaching our boys about the family unit, about the blessing that family is and the way that God intended it to be the very foundation of society. When we have healthy families, we have healthy societies. You know, and when we have divorce and broken homes, those things bring consequences, natural consequences as well. And even those kinds of things we are teaching our boys. We are showing them, and even the women that come into our center, we are showing them what happens when divorce comes into a home, when parents separate, when there's any kind of brokenness in a home. That's where things like hunger come in. And sometimes we're not able to make that connection, but you know what? When the father is all of a sudden not in the home, the mother has to leave her mother role, has to take on the role of the father and work and become the provider, and then all of a sudden she's outside of the home and those kids are, left alone. LASM is working hard to combat rebellion against God. We're working hard to combat drug use and substance abuse. We're working hard to stop all of those things that plague today's society. And we firmly believe that by the renewal of our minds, we can begin to see things in a different way. Poverty is not a situation. Poverty is not something that you live, only on a physical level. Poverty is a mindset. The work of LASM is truly unique, and it is truly far-reaching, and it is not a Band-Aid solution. It's not easy work, because making disciples is not easy work, but it's work that will bear fruit, and fruit that lasts.
Yeah.